Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melisa Caprio.
Hello and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone stays safe during this holiday weekend with lots of people traveling. I know a lot of people are staying home, and it's a very different kind of Thanksgiving, but, just be extra careful because I know we miss our family and our friends, and we want to see everybody. But I was just saying before we went on that I read that for people who want to connect with family and you want to use Zoom, Zoom is waiving their... I think they have a 40-minute time limit that you can do for free. I read that they were waiving it for Thanksgiving so people can connect to their families. So that's just a little shout out. That's pretty cool. I thought that they were doing that. I have a Back Today Physic Trance Channel Reverend Gregory Possman, who I'm going to be bringing out in a few minutes. And Gregory was on my show in October, and he's going to be a regular guest. So, every 4 to 6 weeks, you'll probably be hearing Gregory with me, and he's always going to channel live. So he's going to channel live again today, and we're going to try to keep it around, blessings and Thanksgiving. We're going to try to keep that kind of theme going today, but you never know. So I'll bring him out here in a couple of minutes. Each week, you guys, I do a Magic Monday message with an affirmation. And the one I created this week, the affirmation is hopes and dreams. And it's a postcard I photographed. And it's a reminder that no matter what is going on outside, we still all have our hopes and dreams, and to not let those go. So please join me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. And you can also join my public Facebook group, Postcards of Love, to see inspirational and positive posts of art, photography, and stories. And of course, you can always share that, anything you want on Postcards of Love also. You guys can find everything that I'm doing on my social media accounts on Facebook and Instagram. Yep. And you can also get to those links by going to my website, postcardstotheuniverse.com. I like to get all this stuff out of the way in the beginning because sometimes I forget at the end. I want to tell you guys I'm super excited that my book has been featured on OMTimes magazine. So thank you, OMTimes, for featuring it. I'm so honored. I shared it today on my social medias on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. And I was really, really excited to see it. So whoever subscribes to the magazine can see it too. It's really cool. Or you can go on there and you can check the link if you want to look at it. I want to share just a quick note about a recap about what I'm doing with the book giveaway. I'm extending it. I had a book giveaway, and I was giving away a gift of $500 for 1,000 copies of my book, Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. For when it sells 1,000 copies, I wanted to give somebody a gift. So I had a deadline for the end of November, and I'm going to extend the deadline because I want to give people an opportunity to purchase my book. I've been talking about how I'm in a unique situation, as all of us authors are, where we can't go out and do book signings and go to art fairs and all that stuff and talk about our books. So I'm trying to find ways to get creative to get my book out there. So I had the deadline for the end of November, but I'm going to extend it. So if anybody who's interested in how it works, please reach out to me at postcardstotheuniverse@gmail.com, and I can share with you the details. But yeah, I would love it if you would get my book for a gift for friends or for yourself. I got lots of exciting stories in there to share, so that would be amazing. Okay, so next week, I want to just mention I have author Rachel Wolf and her book Letters from from a better me, how becoming an empowered woman transforms the world. Her goal is to inspire individuals to make great changes in the world by becoming their best selves. She believes that being open and aware of who we are and how we can improve is the path to positive change within ourselves and the world around us. All right, so join us next week and you can listen to her. It's going to be a really cool show. Okay, so to get to my guest today, welcome Gregory. How are you? Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Fantastic. Feeling great.
I'm glad. I know we were talking a little bit before we came on when we were getting ready for the show. What are you guys doing this holiday?
Well, my wife Sandy and I are going to cook a few bits of turkey and instead of a whole bird, so to speak, and make a dinner. We probably will eat around 2 or 3. I'll be going to the gym in the morning and speaking with a bride and a groom about their wedding that I'm going to officiate on around noon. So it's sort of another day for me, but it's also a really fantastic day to focus on all the things that I'm happy about, grateful for, and I believe that's probably going to be our theme today in terms of the channeling. It's all about gratitude.
It's all about gratitude. So there's a wedding tomorrow on Thanksgiving?
No, I'm just going to be talking with a couple about what they'd like their wedding to look like. So.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it is.
Now,
great.
What do you usually do if we weren't dealing with COVID? Would you see your family? Because I know you have family in Florida here where I'm at.
Well, we live in North Carolina, and typically we would have probably 6 or 8 of our friends over. We do a kind of rotating thing where we go to different houses each year, and since COVID's raging supreme, we are not going to do that.
That's an interesting name for it. COVID's raging supreme. Yeah, right?
Absolutely.
It really is. I know so many people this year are, we usually have a big Thanksgiving, a lot of people over, sometimes up to 30 people, 20 to 30 people. But this year, that's obviously not happening. It's just going to be the same immediate group that sees each other, every weekend, who's all social distancing and not working from outside the home. So it's a weird thing because Thanksgiving has always been a really big holiday at our house growing up, and my mom she still cooks. She loves to cook and do Thanksgiving. It's just strange this year. It feels different.
Well, I heard a newscaster say that, if you secluded this Thanksgiving and possibly at Christmas, then you would have many Christmases in the future with your family and friends. And my niece has proven positive for COVID, and also my son's girlfriend. And so it's excellent that, it's not excellent that they have it, but it certainly is a wake-up call. And I believe that for so many people, looking at it from that perspective, I'm watching 2 million Americans travel to get where they want to be for Thanksgiving. And I don't need to go into judgment about that, but I don't think that would be appropriate for me. So I think that it's wise to make self first. And I know that my son and I had a conversation about his girlfriend being upset that he would be away from her as she was quarantined. And I said, look, your safety, as a father talking to a son, your safety is utmost to me. And I said,
absolutely,
from the perspective of yourself, making yourself the most important, which I don't think is an egotistical thing. I think it's just safe and wise. And so that's what he's going to do. And he's talking to her every day. He's spending time with her at a distance, but he's not close to her. And I think that's very wise. And then Sandy and I, my wife and I, talked about the same thing. What if one of us were to get it? And the thought was that we would need to distance, of course, and how horrible it would be if we did not do that, and then one of us were to pass away and make our transition, and the other were waiting around feeling like, gee, maybe it was my fault that they departed this life. Right. So I think it's very wise for people to keep their distance, and it's not easy, and I understand that. It's very tough. But I think it's something that we have to do, and the vaccines are around the corner. I remember back, I can't remember exactly when, but the other side said that we would have a vaccine in October. Turns out it's in December. So I want to remind everyone that on their side, they don't have time and space. So sometimes they're a little off in their predictions, but they're usually pretty good about it. And I have faith in them.
Yeah, well, you should, right?
Oh, I better.
I was going to say, right, exactly. You better have faith in them. Yeah, I mean, I think of it as like everything comes in cycles, and we've had pandemics and viruses before, and it's like everything else. It starts, it peaks, it starts to go away, and it eventually, it eventually disappears. So I know that it's going to. It's just that it's that in the meantime, right? It's the getting through it. It's the, all right, here we are. We got closed down in March, I think, or March, and it's December. I mean, it's almost been a full year. That's a long time to be dealing with this. And unfortunately, every time I see something, it's the numbers are going up, not that they're going back down, right? Not yet.
Well, that's true, and I think what a lot of folks talk about is when things return to normal. The truth is, in my book, I don't think we are going to return to normal. I think this has been a time for a lot of people to go inside. It's been a time to face all our demons and dragons, or our shadow, or whatever word you want to use, depending on which branch of psychology you follow, but the bottom line is, I think we've all changed. I think we've changed a lot. And I think many of us have changed for the better. And so if anything, I think the theme for today's program, and I could be wrong, but I think the theme is going to be gratitude for the changes that we've made in ourselves. Yeah, because as we look outside, I mean, politically, obviously, there's all kinds of division, and that's warranted. I mean, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for everything. There are no accidents. I think that we are looking at a very optimistic time, and heaven knows you don't want me to get on my political soapbox. That would be unfortunate and unpleasant. But
yeah, we won't do that. We
aren't going to go there.
Especially the day before Thanksgiving, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that if the people listening were to look at the kinds of changes within that have taken place, what have you learned how to do? What have you taken time to do that you never would have done back in the stressful, hectic period that didn't afford you any time to yourself? What have you read? What books have you read? What kind of spiritual practices might you have engaged in? And what things do you appreciate now that you wouldn't have had it been, all this distraction, basically? What's been taken out of our lives is all the distraction. I was talking to my son earlier, and he said, what do you think is going to happen in your life? Neither my wife nor I are doing any traveling. We used to travel quite a lot. And I said, well, at some point, we'll come back to this. We'll come back to the aspect of travel, depending on how effective these vaccines are and how much of them are available. I mean, it's not going to be like this forever. But as far as normal goes, I don't think any of us are anything like we were back in March. I think we've changed a lot, and that's very difficult for human beings to appreciate, is how much they've changed. It's very hard for us to do that. That's always been a curiosity of mine.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I feel like there's been a lot of growth in a lot of ways, and I know a lot of people who have gone through some serious crisis points during this time, and it's interesting, but it's when they talk about growth, because usually when we talk about growth is painful, right? So there has to be, or doesn't have to be, but it seems like we manifest it that way, right? For us to grow, we have to be, it has to be a painful process instead of an easy process. So I think, there's been a lot of that. So I agree with you. I don't think that we're the same, and I don't think it's going to be the same. I think there's going to be a new normal. I do believe that we will be out there again without masks. I am confident that's going to happen, again, and I'm grateful that I feel that way. And I feel like I've gotten more grounded during this situation, because I'm not fighting it. I'm accepting it. I just accepted the reality. Mm-hmm.
I think that's an excellent segue into the information that I sat down and I made some notes about today. And I think that acceptance and gratitude go together, but I don't think we talk about acceptance very much. And certainly self-acceptance is a tough one. Many of us, those of us who grew up in the United States, at least in my genre, in my day, if you call it that, we were focused on success. We were focused on our purpose. We were focused on how much can we produce, maybe how rich can we get, how great can we become. Maybe it's fame. I don't know what the appropriate descriptor is, but the point is that in this aspect of self-acceptance, which leads to gratitude, or gratitude leading to self-acceptance, you have a situation where it's basically counter to that, where you sit back and you say, okay, I'm 15 pounds overweight, or I don't look the way, so-and-so actor looks, or I can't perform the way such and such an athlete performs. But the truth of the matter is, I do really well for what I do.
Right.
And if one can take that...
I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I don't mean to... yeah, we got to do our break now, and then we'll finish that, and then we're going to go into the channel. But so let's just take a 2-minute break. All right. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Welcome back. Okay, I have Gregory Possman on. Thanks, Gregory. I was saying to him I hate cutting somebody off when they're in the middle of a thought, but we do have to take our break, so I apologize for that. I just wanted to say that. But yeah, so let's continue and jump right into the conversation.
Well, I do some automatic writing, and in preparation for these shows, I sit down and I just get quiet, and I let myself write. And these are some areas of life that I believe our guest is going to talk about this afternoon, and they're aspects of life. For instance, what has been your greatest accomplishment? Mm-hmm. What is the synchronistic miracle that's happened in your life that allowed you to achieve whatever that greatest accomplishment is? So just take a moment and think about that. What's the thing you're proudest of? What have you done that really just kind of jumps out and says, wow, I'm amazed that I was able to do this. I never expected that. Melisa's got a best-selling book that is out there now, and that is an incredible achievement. And so another aspect, who are the most influential people in your life? Who were your teachers? Is it a spouse? Is it a mate, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a husband, a wife? What about your ancestors? Who were they? And how did they contribute to who you are today? Who are your mentors? Who are the people who have supported you and taught you and been very positive? Maybe it was an ancestor. Maybe it was somebody who's passed away, a family member, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, grandfather, who knows? And then, who are the professors in your life? Again, mentors, but teachers. And what is the expression of your soul's occupation? So, in other words, if in your occupation, how are you expressing your soul by doing what you do? These are all aspects that I think might come up in this coming conversation. So that's what I have to offer.
Well, I'm excited. So Gregory and I discussed before the show who he thinks will be coming through, because you get nudges, I'm assuming. This is how, because you'll tell me so-and-so is like giving you a signal, like I need to speak, I have some things to say. So who is coming through today, and can you share just who that spirit is for people who are listening?
So the entity is called Sananda. Some refer to it as Lord Sananda, and it is the oversoul of the Christ energy, and I think that's probably enough.
Okay, so now, what is an oversoul? So for my own clarification of the Christ, is the Christ consciousness, is that what it is?
It is,
kind of?
And it's also, it would be the soul that has observed, watched, and protected all of the lifetimes that this energy or entity has had on incarnations on the planet.
Oh, wow. Okay, well then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you leave, and I'll see you back at the end of the show.
Sounds good.
And we'll go from there. Okay, thanks, Gregory.
Here we go.
Okay.
We are the one who is called Sananda, and we greet you. We greet you with unconditional love, with great joy, and a sense of excitement. How may we assist?
Well, hello, Sananda, and thank you for being here. And I'm honored when Gregory told me that you wanted to come through. So my first thing I wanted to ask you is, I know you have some messages that you wanted to give us today. So I'm going to start there. What are some of the things that you wanted to share with us?
We would ask each of you to focus upon your unconditional love. And you probably expect us to say that that would be unconditional love for all of the beings in your life. We believe that it is important to experience and to express unconditional love for self. And as the man, Ashid, through whom we speak, or the one called Gregory, has spoken the word acceptance, acceptance is the perfect place to begin in terms of moving into gratitude for who you are. Everyone focuses upon the gratitude they have for all of the things outside of self. We remind you that there is nothing outside of self. In other words, you and the Creator work as a team to create everything in your life. And if you cannot feel acceptance for self, then it is impossible to feel gratitude or grateful for self.
Thank you. That's a wonderful answer. So then my follow-up question would be, why is it that so many of us have a hard time seeing ourselves as divine beings and loving ourselves?
The answer to that, of course, is connection. It is difficult for one who is in a physical human body to remember that there is so much more to them than their body. If each of you were to close your eyes for just a moment and imagine this bubble around you as if you were inside of a balloon and you were so small that you were like a particle in all of the atmosphere in the balloon. All of that atmosphere around you represents the morphic field of energy that your soul and spirit contains. All of that soul and spirit cannot be contained in your physical body. And so the part that you relate to the most easily is your physicality. And that means that you feel as though you are separate from all of the others out there, because they too have a physical body. But if in fact you are light, and if in fact you are energy, your energy field extends far beyond your skin. If you think of your skin as the container, so to speak, for your physical body, the energy of your soul and the light of who you are extends so far beyond. And that is why we call it the morphic field of energy. And when that morphic field extends outward and begins to overlap or overlay with all of the other morphic fields of the other individuals whose bodies you can see or touch, suddenly you have this massive extension of energy. And if you can begin to appreciate that possibility, especially in your left brain, then you can begin to enter into what is called the stream of consciousness. And not long ago, actually last week, the man did a transmission about entering into the stream of consciousness. Perhaps that is a conversation for another day. But allowing yourself to enter into that stream is like speaking to your soul. It is speaking to your soul. And the way to do that is to grow quiet. You see, as you speak with your words, it is your ego that is speaking. And there is nothing wrong with that. That is awesome. It is wonderful. And when you go into the silence, you begin to listen to the Creator inside of you speaking. Whether you call it meditation or contemplation, sitting satsuen, as the Japanese would say, or simply just being. That is when you begin to connect with your soul. And as you breathe into that process, and that stream of consciousness becomes more obvious to you, everything begins to shift. You become more calm, your blood pressure decreases, your sense of stress decreases, and all of the things that you felt were so important in the illusion of your life, and that is what it is to us. It's an illusion that you create. All of those stressors, they become so much less important, and the reality becomes more obvious to you.
So you just said that is the illusion that we create. You mean the life that we're living right now is, for each of us, our own illusion?
It is what we would call your illusion, and also your university, your college, if you will. And think about attending college. One attends classes. One has teachers and mentors and professors. And if one does not get the lesson, one receives a failing grade. Well, in the illusion of life, if one does not learn the lesson, they recreate the drama again and again and again. Think of it in terms of relationships. If you were with someone 25 years ago, and you're with someone now who was very much the same, what didn't change? The truth is, you didn't change. In other words, perhaps you did not give yourself time to grow, and therefore you are still creating the same lesson, the same person, the same kind of person. The man jokes about it. He says, "Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent." We find that amusing. We do have a sense of humor, believe it or not.
I believe it. I believe it. Well, that's interesting that you said relationships, because I have a question about relationships. Being that it's Thanksgiving time for us right now, and we're looking for our blessings in our lives and being grateful and giving thanks for what we have, it seems that many of us, one of the areas that's the most difficult is in relationships, whether that be intimate, romantic, or family relationships. So I guess my question then would be, how can we learn to appreciate those relationships and be grateful for them even when they are difficult?
Imagine those relationships are a reflection of the relationship with self. And imagine that if there is stress or strain in those relationships, what is the judgment that one might be placing upon oneself? In other words, what is the trigger? What is the button being pushed? And indeed, since many of you are distancing or separating from one another at a time when you would usually come together, perhaps the relationship that is most important is the one with self. An affirmation of that might be, I am one with all of life, and I am safe at all times. I am safe and secure, and the world is safe and friendly. That is such a departure from what you see in your media. It is such a departure from what you imagine with this virus running amok amongst you, so to speak. And yet, if you establish that belief within yourself, and then you begin to project it outward, you're creating a sort of cocoon of energy around you. And that cocoon, believe it or not, will protect you. Now the left side of your brain is going to say nonsense. That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. But think for a moment, just for a moment, about someone whom you know who is very peaceful and calm inside and does not allow themselves to be stressed, activated, or triggered by anything that happens in their life. Perhaps their response is, that's interesting. But they do not get angry. They do not allow themselves to grow stressed, and do not give themselves permission to act out, so to speak, when something happens in their life. They observe and they witness, knowing full well that more will take place. They will learn more. And therefore, that is the energy they produce around them. And their life becomes calm. Their life becomes peaceful. It is very much like a monk living in a monastery. And immediately the left brain will say, but they are protecting themselves. They are not, shall we say, presented with all of the problems that the rest of us are presented with. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps that is true. Or perhaps they have made a conscious decision to live their life in a peaceful place. The question that we would leave you with is, what is your focus on this holiday? Are you focused upon what you can't have, or are you focused on what you can create? We know it is time soon for your break.
I think you do know. That's true. It is. So I think this is the perfect place for us to take the break, and we can think about that, and we'll come back in a couple of minutes and talk more. Thank you.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Hi, I'm Melisa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on OMTimes Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter, yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. I have Gregory Possman on, who is channeling Sananda, and Sananda stayed with us through the break and is still here. Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
We are grateful.
So am I. I was thinking about what you were saying before we went to the break, and I was thinking about anyone that I know personally who is like that kind of a person, the person who could be that calm and peaceful inside, where they are living that life. And I don't think I really know anyone who is like that personally. And I just found that interesting. Why is it such a struggle for us?
You have so many stimuli attacking your left brain each and every day. And learning how to stop those stimuli from interrupting your process is a very challenging and difficult technique. However, it is not as difficult as it may seem. As you were talking, we were thinking that the person that you cannot seem to come up with is actually inside of you. It is your master teacher. It is the higher self, or the soul, if you wish to call it that. Whatever verbiage you want to construct is appropriate. But actually that person is inside of you. And it is simply a matter of making a choice as to how you will respond rather than react. In other words, what triggers me? What reminds me of another lifetime? What reminds me of an unpleasant experience in another reality? And just because you cannot explain it in this reality does not mean it did not happen, because it did happen. We have experienced over 80 lifetimes, 88 specifically, on this planet, and we can remember the majority of them. When you are born, it is not the ability to remember very many, if any of them. But as you become more quiet inside, as you become less distracted, you give yourself permission to ask, what are the aspects that I need to heal from those lifetimes? What is it that causes me stress or struggle? What is my fear? What am I most afraid of? For those of you who are most afraid of not having enough, you are actually afraid of not being enough. Not enough food, not enough money, not enough heat, not enough air to breathe, not enough love. Ask yourself, what is your greatest fear? And you will begin to understand what you have experienced in those other lifetimes.
It's so interesting. I wouldn't have even thought about that. Some of the stressors that we're having is not even an experience that we had in this lifetime. So many of us are feeling these anxieties because of something we brought over with us from another lifetime.
How many of you experienced the plague? How many of you experienced the absolute scarcity of water to drink? How many of you have frozen to death in their existence? Each and every one of those aspects is something you bring into this life in order to conquer, if you want to see it that way, or to move through, if you prefer a little bit less drastic definition.
That's so interesting. Well,
so then the question becomes, what lesson or lessons plural is left in my life that I need to move through, before I decide to move on to my next experience, which of course, as you have heard from others, is not death. It's merely a transition, a shifting point through a vortex that allows you into a new and a different experience, which you will have designed in order to move through those lessons more quickly. And as you look at those people on your planet who are struggling in massive waves with whatever it is they are struggling with, you can give yourself permission to think, perhaps this is the third or the fourth lifetime where they have faced the same issue, the same challenge, the same difficulties. And what was it that stopped them from moving through it previously? Stubbornness.
Stubbornness. So what can we offer, or what words would you offer us, being that it's the holiday season and we're separated from our loved ones, and many of us are dealing with loss as far as losing family and friends, or financial loss, or loss of food, or loss of health, or homes, who are suffering from Great Depression right now on a day that is supposed to be about Thanksgiving. How do we switch that in our brains, I guess, would be it.
Remembering that you have the choice and giving yourself permission to look around, and instead of focusing upon the past, focus upon the present. The Manashid and his wife Andrika, they will be together. Their friends will not be with them. Their family will not be with them. They will have a quiet time to appreciate one another. They will also have a quiet time to appreciate themselves. How can I spend this time learning something new or different, perhaps about myself? If I do not have the distraction of 15, 20, or 25 other people around me, does that mean I cannot enjoy the experience? Or is it perhaps an opportunity to love and approve of myself? Is it not an opportunity to relax and let life flow through me with ease and grace? And is it perhaps not an opportunity to imagine that all details will take care of themselves, contrary to what perhaps I have been taught in the earlier part of my life, which is, of course, if it is to be, it is up to me. You see, many of you in the human experience believe that struggle is noble. What if it is the opposite? What if ease and grace is more noble than struggle? So do not struggle with the day. Do not struggle with what has been and is not now, but give yourself permission to remain in the present. Be in the now, and know that your being is enough, more than enough. It does not have to involve 20 different varieties of food to eat. It does not have to involve 25 or 30 people to be around, where you can get lost in all of the frenetic energy. It's an opportunity to be self, to begin to know self, and to enjoy self. Difficult, but not unachievable. A challenge, yes, but a challenge that can easily be met.
Thank you for that. Okay, so everything keeps coming back to self. It's all about the self. Everything we experience, everything that's out there is brought to us because it's inside of us. So are eventually we all going to get it? Is each individual soul going to eventually reach that platform where we do get it and we move on to other realms, no matter how many times it takes the individual soul?
Yes and no.
Okay.
In other words, yes, that is the divine plan. And at that point where one has gotten everything, so to speak, when there are no more lessons to learn, one merges with the Creator, and there is this kind of explosion of ecstasy, if you will, and you return to being light. We spoke earlier of your energy field being light, and that is what you will return to. That is what you came from. Now you are in this elusive kind of fantasy dream, if you will, of your life, which for those who are struggling and suffering certainly does not seem like fantasy. And we do understand that. And we do have empathy for those who struggle. However, as soon as one decides to become responsible for one's own experience, accountable, if you will, then the choices can be different. Think about postcards to the universe. How does it work? Who creates the postcard?
Well, I create the postcard, and other people participate by creating their own postcard of what they want to manifest, and then they send it to me.
So let us ask the question differently. Who created the intention in the first place for the idea or the design of the postcard? In other words,
me.
You.
Did. Mm-hmm.
So you created the idea, but they create their intention. They let you know what they would like their life to look like. Mm-hmm. So what is your role in the process? What do you do?
Ooh, I don't know now. You put me on the spot. What do I do?
You publicize, you create.
I do.
You transform the energy. You transform it from intention and desire into a kind of vision.
Yes.
So what if one did that with one's life? Imagine your desire is to be loved. Mm-hmm. And your greatest fear is to have to be silent with yourself. In other words, listening to yourself. The automatic assumption would be that when you are alone, your greatest fear is going to manifest. In other words, you will have to be in the silence with self. What if it is the opposite? What if that silence with self is an opportunity to feel one's own self-love? What would that postcard look like? It would just be a picture of self. Mm-hmm. And then perhaps one could place a background of blue or pink or green or whatever color you assign to love. What an interesting exercise for tomorrow. Create a postcard to the universe where you are expressing your love for self.
Wow. That's beautiful, actually. I think that's perfect. I just felt that in my heart and got chills. And I want to thank you. We're coming up just a couple of minutes to, unfortunately, we have to end the show. But I think it's a beautiful sentiment in ending it. So thank you, Sananda, for being with us today.
It has been our pleasure. One last reminder. The show never ends.
I love that. I love that. Thank you.
Peace and unconditional love to each of you. So be it. I'm back, I think.
I think that was so wild. I'm going to listen to it again. What I'm calling it him, he, even though just because, we have to call something, it's just got a more masculine energy, I think. I don't know, maybe because it's coming through Gregory's voice, who's masculine. But that was so wild about what he was talking about with postcards and everything. Like, I'm listening, but, I'm here with you guys live, so it's hard for me to, really get it, you know what I'm saying? So I usually go back after when you're on, Gregory, with whoever you bring on, and I re-listen to the whole show so I can get it as everybody else is getting it.
I think that's true also of the private sessions I do. People go back and listen to them a number of times, and they tell me that 6 months, a year later, they've gone back and listened to it, heard something they never heard the first time around. So I think that's very good advice. I really do.
Yeah, well, it was really, really cool. I mean, really cool. And I just so appreciate you being here with me. As usual, it's always great spending time with you, Gregory. For those of you who want to contact Gregory, go to gregorypossman.com and book a session. Thanks for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melisa, creating the life you crave, and I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful week. Wishing everyone a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving. Peace.